Who in here read The Embodied Consciousness? Yeah, recently?
I read it, but not recently.
Okay. So, the more and more you read his stuff, the more and more you realize how, because of the Sanskrit terminology he used, it's very, very hard for people to understand. Because one Sanskrit word can mean, can be a whole paragraph or 2 pages just to understand that one Sanskrit word or terminology. So essentially, that's why I teach. I give you just key Sanskrit words so that you can understand. But this right here, really in almost 1 page, this diagram explains the embodied consciousness. So I have other diagrams too I'm going to introduce, but you have, if you can imagine that the absolute endless potential of power is everywhere. When you look up into the night sky, this thing that the scientists call dark matter now is a source of power. And it's the, it's what we know to have, what we know to be for thousands, millions of years, that this is the endless potential of God, of the power of God, okay? So it's complete silence, complete stillness, complete darkness with absolute potential. We know that. And everything comes from that darkness, okay? That darkness is the absolute, right? And it's unmanifested. It's totally unmanifested. A background of the unmanifested endless potential, which acts as a source and sustaining, a source and substance for all manifestation. It is the all knowledge space. And what happens is that the spirit or bindu of the absolute, which is our spirit, which is the sun, which is the planets, which is the central sun, the galaxies, all of them are great bindus. They are points of consciousness. They mahabindus, yes. Our spirit is a mahabindu as well. So what is this bindu, which is still unmanifested, but it has a connection with the all. It has a connection with the absolute. And because it has a connection with the absolute, it has this all knowledge space. It has a connection with the all knowledge space. And what it does, it creates the soul, right? And the soul becomes the point in which it operates out of. Now the soul is manifested. But of course, in order for the soul to communicate with the absolute, there's an unmanifested connection there somewhere. Or maybe even a semi-unmanifested creation, of itself, in order to connect to the absolute, into that all-knowledge space. And then the soul moves out and creates the bodies or vehicle of expression for itself. And we know that the first thing it does is it creates that aura, the auric body, in which the auric body becomes the vehicle that the soul works through. And we know that the Shakti power that the soul manifests, or not manifests, but pulls on, pulls on, because the Shakti power actually comes from the Shiva. We understand that the soul pulls on that and push it down its auric substance. I had a diagram, but I don't think I finished it. Let me see. We know the soul creates the auric body with the highest quality of Shakti power, right? And that becomes the body of the soul. And that's in the auric body, remember, according to the ancient text, the auric body is the body that the soul uses throughout its manifestation on the lower realms. And the lower realms is all the realms, because it's lower than the soul realm, you know? So it only enhances this at points of ascension or great initiations, you know. In other words, you can go through 4 million 4 million reincarnations here on earth in order to get to ascension. And then at that point, the auric body is broken down and built back up again, right? But it has the collective knowledge and experience of all those 4 million lifetimes that it carries with it. And now it has the karmic information, the karmic experience, in order to move into that phase, into the next cosmic phase of his life. And at that point, the soul has, or the lower part, the lower, that's not the soul itself, but the lower part of the soul's vehicles of expression has direct communication with the all-knowledge space at that time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Did everybody get what I just said?
So the soul must have great power in order to turn the infinite into a finite. Not to turn it, but like to be able to encapsulate.
Well, the soul is the body of the spirit, remember? In other words, the intelligence of the soul is the spirit itself. So the soul works by the laws of karma. It will not go against the laws of karma. But the soul creates vehicles of expression for itself and engross that matter in order to move through experience. Because the matter itself has no necessary experience in the manifested world. The soul has the advantage. The soul has the advantage of the spirit. See, because the soul has what? Access to what? To the all-knowledge space. The manifested material does not have access to that, does not have conscious access to it. It only has its experience and sensory perception, knowledge. It doesn't have the necessary knowledge of the absolute. It doesn't have the necessary knowledge of the soul. You understand? That's why it takes it so many lifetimes. So it only have the accumulated understanding of its own auric field. See?
That's due to the veiling.
That's due to the veiling. Remember what we said? The soul does what? It takes this Shakti power and mold it into what? Into Shakti consciousness, right? Which limits its awareness. And then it pushes it down through what? Shushuna. And then it gets to the point of the Mulahara, and what does it do? It wraps itself into a 3.5 knot, which limits it tremendously, which 90 to 98% of it is locked up at that point because of its karmic position. And then not only being locked up, but now the Shakti consciousness is what? It's split. It's split up. So, so then when it tries to unite itself, it creates this matrix of Nadis, which is, which we estimate to be 242,000 pathways. And within that 242,000 pathways, it only have, it further splits itself up again to bring about 108 levels of consciousness. So it's not only two levels of, it's not only split 2 times, it's split 108 times. And with 108 levels of consciousness that the soul, that these vehicles, the consciousness is split up into, right? It only have it only have what 8? 12. I don't want to say 12. I'm going to say 7 or 6. 6 levels of major chakras that it works. 9 if you count the hands that it works through. And it's with those 9, with those 9, you have the sensory sense or houses that those 108 levels of consciousness can work through, right? And then, so therefore it groups itself into 4 levels of consciousness, these 108 points of consciousness, all right? And it groups itself into a supra-conscious level, a super-conscious level, a subconscious level, and a conscious level. And we can even add a 5th one, an unconscious level. Because consciousness cannot exist without unconsciousness. You see? Huh? That's its background. But yet you have this divine consciousness that's trapped, and it have all these windows of consciousness, but it has a limited number of ways to express its consciousness. Okay? I hope I didn't confuse anyone. Huh?
And that limiting is karma. That says
That's the karmic.
In such and such a way, or such and such a way.
Yeah, until you have access to the all knowledge space. What does access to the all knowledge space do? Anyone? No one knows?
When you have access to it, once you penetrate all those barriers, all those layers of unconsciousness, right?
No. No, I mean you do, but I'm giving the answer away.
You don't have to go through those experiences that necessarily you had to go through before, because you already have the access to the knowledge.
Knowledge does what? What happened to my new thing? It's supposed to be new. Knowledge does what? Knowledge teaches you the laws of karma.
Molds and shapes you have.
Huh?
Molds and shapes you have.
Yeah. See, so if you can understand that all energy is sacred, see? And with that sacredness comes great responsibility. So what happens? The soul carefully guard that power by splitting the consciousness up the way it does. So what does it do? It brings this endless amount of Shakti power within the auric fields, right? That's one thing it does. The second thing it does is what? When it brings it in the auric fields, it shields it in what? Anybody remember? It shields it within an impenetrable boundary place, which is called the Brahmanati. You don't remember that?
Yeah.
Because when you study the Brahmanati, what you find out about the Brahmanati? It's a fortress. It's a fortress. Nothing can penetrate it. It says that it's guarded with this tremendous heat of 1,000 suns and this diamond-like substance within the Sushumna. So you just can't break into it, you know. So I mean, the soul is very crafty in how it does all of this. The third thing it does, the Shakti that it pulls in is viewed as the soul molded into a Shakti consciousness. So what is happening at that point? You got an eraser? The Shakti consciousness, at that point, the soul molds the Shakti into the Shakti consciousness, and the Shakti takes on, it becomes alive through the soul, right? It becomes alive through the soul, and what does it do? It collects information and configures information or knowledge. So within the Brahmanati, you have what? What you have within the Brahmanati? Huh? What? Yeah, or let's say the essence of the chakras. So within that region, all the seeds of the chakras, which is the bindus, exists, right? So this Shakti consciousness is influenced by all of them. And it takes all that information down to the lowest chakra for man's consciousness, to the Muladhara chakra. And there, with having all that knowledge and all that understanding and bringing it to that point, what happens? Huh? It goes dormant because why? The law of karma does not allow that type of knowledge to be released at that level without the understanding, without that being having clear understanding of what to use, of what to do with that power. Okay?
Is that universal, or is that?
That's universal. That's universal to my understanding. You have,
So anybody operating from that level in any planet, in any galaxy, it's locked.
yeah. You have a 3.5, that's where the 3.5 knot come in at. See?
I think you had told us once that 3.5 knot configuration is unique to this planet because of the human races.
It's unique to this planet for this solar system. I don't think it's unique to this planet for the galaxy. No, that's not the case. It's unique to this planet for this solar system. Because in this solar system, we are the only one that's living at this level. All the other planets, other than the younger planet, all the other planets in the solar system have moved past this many, that's what they live on the etheric realms. And you go back and look throughout the centuries, throughout thousands of years in the written ancient texts, they always speak of these bodhisattvas or that visit here as what? As ethereal beings. That's how they address them. And they address them as living in the heavens or whatever. So that's what they call ethereal beings. So no, they don't exist here. It's unique for us.
But I guess what I was referring to was, maybe it was the grand announcement, that it's linked, it's connected to the ring past knot of this earth, which other, which.
Well, to our understanding, the ring. This is part of the ring past knot. In fact, the sex center, I think it's a sex center. The base of the spine, the sex center, and the solar plexus center is a part of the ring past knot.
So other beings in other parts of the galaxy operating at the same level, their planet will probably have a similar ring past knot associated.
Yeah. Because it's a law. It's a karmic law. It's a karmic law. So they can't, even though they may. I mean, you can and you can go far with this, as you can see. You can go far. You can go far with this, but it becomes a limit of how far you can go. In other words, it becomes a limit. So you understand this, right? The fourth thing it does is that it brings the Shaktic power goes into a dormant state. Yes, it goes in a dormant state, right? And then the Shaktic power is split.
The Shaktic could not be split prior to its going dormant. Shaktic power could not be broken up until after it's dormant.
Until it gets to this level. Because karmic law allows it to be split up. It works in perfect unison at all the other levels, right? And even in this level, it's working in unison. But here and then, in the dormant state, the Shaktic power turns to Kundalini. Right? And it does what? What it does when it turns to Kundalini? It releases the sound. Right? And the release of the sound.
I remember the first one. It's called the Lascianti sound.
It releases the sound. And the sound is the thing that releases the Nadis. And the Nadis does what? It creates 242 pathways, right? Right? And then what happens? In the pathways, 108 chakras, right? Right? And then within the 108 chakras, right, You only have what?
7, 8.
You only have like 9 chakras that you can actually work through for consciousness or express yourself through. Working at what level? Huh?
The conscious level?
Working at this conscious level. See? And then we just counted them. You only have 5 groups or levels of consciousness. That you can further express yourself through. And you can express yourself through the supraconscious or the superconscious or even the subconscious, right? So you left with what? The unconscious and conscious. So that account for a lot of psychosis here on Earth, you know. So, go ahead.
So it's the nadis that, in their interactions with those 108 chakras, that determine how a body is formed?
Yeah, the nadis, when the nadis leave the Kundalini, it creates this matrix, right? Within this auric plasma, and from there, all the other bodies are formed. So the of the nadis and the auric body. All our bodies fit within that. Even scientists now, when they film the aura, they can film these energies, which was talked about thousands of years ago. The aura was talked about thousands of years ago. They can film it now, and they can see that that the physical body even is within this energy field, right? It's the same principle as the Earth lived within its atmosphere, you know, and all the other planets live within its atmosphere. There's a magnetic gaseous atmosphere around all the planets, all living things, you know. So it's the same thing with us. Even scientists have realized that we have, although we live in this airy type atmosphere, but if you can focus in on any one person, they have about 20 cubics of air or oxygen that circles them so that they can breathe. We create this atmosphere around of oxygen, and they estimate it to be at least 20 cubics of oxygen that we bring around, that we attract to ourselves in order to breathe every day. So all of us have this auric field around us.
Now, mind molds and shapes the body. Does it also mold and shape the nadis?
Yeah, because remember, the nadis exist through what?
Through the aura.
The nadis exist through what? Kundalini, but the nadis exist through what?
Consciousness?
Through consciousness. Because what does Kundalini do in order to create the nadis?
Creates the sound.
It creates the sound. What is sound?
Consciousness.
Sound is mind, which is consciousness, right? Only reason why you understand me is because I'm projecting mind to you through sound. See, so the Kundalini is release its consciousness through sound, and that sound wave, and by the ancient texts say that that the Kundalini sings the celestial song, right? And it sings the celestial song because why? Why they call it celestial? Because it resembles what? The creative word. It resembles the creative word. The way the sun sings its song, and all creation, all the planets around the sun is created. Everyone comes within the aura of the sun, within the plasmic boundaries, the solar plasma boundaries of the sun, and everything circles the sun. Well, the Kundalini is doing the same thing, and it creates the matrix through sound, through consciousness, through mind, and from there, the Nadis create an atmosphere to allow levels of consciousness to exist, and to allow the energy formation to take shape, to allow the prana coming from the great cosmic God of our solar system, the sun, to come within our aura, right? And do what it needs to do in order to help promote consciousness and experience, okay? Because that's the directive, to allow consciousness to gain experience. So, and it allows the Tantric rays to the formation of all the energies to enter these sacred psychic centers in order to create the atmosphere that we need around ourselves in order to gain millions and millions of years of experience.
So the Brahman Nadi must extend through everything, all of creation.
Yes, there's a Brahmanati. There's a Brahmanati for the galaxy. It's just like there's a Ida Nati for the galaxy. You see, and there's a Pingala Nati for the galaxy. The same way on Earth, I showed you, even in my book, you'll see I point out the direction of the Ida and Pingala Nati of this Earth, of this planet. So it's the same thing for the solar system. It's the same thing for the sun. It's the same thing for the galaxy, right? You have, these are, it works the same way it works with us. It works on a higher scale. And yeah,
As above, so below.
yes, the same way.
And so it is karma then that determines at which level Kundalini releases the sound.
Yeah,
For that perspective.
yeah. And as the Kundalini, as the sound, as the energy of the Kundalini move to each level, it releases a different, or the sound takes on a different tone. When the celestial song is sung, and it moves to the sex level, it takes on a different formation and a different tone, or a different tone is added to the original tone. And then when it goes to the solar plexus center, another tone is added, right? And to each level. And in fact, that's why in the ancient teachings, they say that each petal within each chakra is a musical note. So each letter of the Sanskrit alphabet is a different note or song being played by the Kundalini. Now the soul brought the original samskara or or petal into existence within that level when it was descending, right? It placed it there. But the Kundalini consciousness activates it and makes it release a certain amount of energy or consciousness, you know. So that's the thing. So then as it moves up, it slightly activated to allow us to embody our consciousness, okay? Whole manifested matter. That's the whole purpose of it, okay? That's the whole purpose of it. So when we go into concentration, contemplation, and meditation, it is to gain control over matter, okay? And to be able to experience higher states of consciousness within this gross matter will enhance our ability to move from this level of existence, okay? You can have someone, you can go into deep concentration and go into mystic states, and you still won't connect yourself to the all-knowledge space. You can go into deep contemplation and go into mystic states, and you still won't could connect yourself to it. You'll come close, you'll come very close, and it'll seem like you did, but you still won't touch it, right? Well, you can go into deep states of meditation, and you still won't touch that source, that all-knowledge space. You'll come close to it. You'll be bathed in the light and all of this, you know. But in cosmic consciousness, you begin to communicate with the all-knowledge space. You can tap into it. See, you become, because remember, in order to reach the states of cosmic consciousness, you would have to had gone into meditations many, many times, right? In other words, you go into samadhi many, many times, and then all of a sudden you have this cosmic experience. And you tap into that all-knowledge space, which is the absolute, which is the intelligence of the absolute. I don't want to say consciousness, but it's the intelligence of the absolute. See? So that's the whole thing. And at that time, you'll transform, because you understand the law. And you understand that all your actions must fall within the law. You know, we look at the earth and say, oh, well, that's a stupid cosmic being that just circles the sun. I don't want to live in a body like that. But we miss the whole picture of it. Because why? Because it's a great being. It's living on multiple levels of consciousness. And its total purpose is to serve all life forms below it and life forms above it. It's in total service. And it's living the experience and helping every one of us live the experience necessary in order to do what? Get back to that God level of consciousness that it lives within, see? Because the earth is totally aware of this God level, this all-knowledge space. And that's why it limits its movements and create the exact energy level and experience for millions, trillions of life forms on this earth. Trillions. You know, you want to look at it on one level, we are giving the lower life forms within our body a terrible experience. Is, you know, when we raise our consciousness, then those lower life forms can raise their consciousness. When we raise our consciousness, then the whole planet can move to a different vibration of existence, where we will begin to understand the laws of karma, and we'll only do the necessary things necessary to advance the life of all things around us, as the sun does, as the earth does, as the moon does, as all the great beings within the universe does. They're here to serve those below us, and those below them and those above them. So understanding the law of karma takes you to that place. That's what it's all about. It's all about service. It's all about getting to that level to understand the law enough to only make the necessary actions in your life to advance all life around you. Okay? To be an intricate part of the whole. And that's what it's about. So you have any questions? Everybody understand? Any question? Someone had a question online?
She wrote something, but it's not in English.
You can't translate it?
It's Spanish.
You should have a translation button there, Shane.
I don't think it's a question. I think she was responding. Robin said, I love this subject. I think she said, would you? Let me ask.
So everybody understand what we were trying to get to, right? Okay, so I know it's kind of complex, and there's a lot there, but
You just took everything that was in this chapter and you condensed it into
Yeah.
understandable terms.
yeah, so that you understand that there's microbes that lives within your body that's going through a series of life, that we are responsible for. And it's going through its cycles of life, and it depends on the energy and consciousness that we influence within it. And so in your lifetimes, you may have billions upon billions of lower life forms that depend on you. Not only just your dog, your cat, the fish, the plant life or whatever, but everything. You are a sentinel being, and everything feeds on everything else. So that's the reason why we have the lessons that we have, like Raja Yoga, the 8 limbs of Raja Yoga, and even the 9 freedoms of the Theory Society. That's why we have those things, in order to begin to bring about some type of control over our mental bodies and emotional bodies and physical bodies, so that we can move forward in the right direction. It's just that simple. It's not hard to understand.
Not hard to understand, but difficult.
I gave this to you all a while ago. See. You remember this?
So, let's say for Adam,
That base of the spine, I'm sure it had to be a little different from there, because of at the heart level is an adept level. That means you are an adept at manipulating energy, gross matter and energy. That's why we actually move energy through the heart center. If you notice, most of your practices have you to, when you're manipulating energy, to use the heart center or the solar plexus center as a form, but mostly the heart center as a way to transform energy or give energy meaning and direction, in other words. When we study the 3 states of sound, you'll notice that at that 3rd level of sound, it says what? It says that meaning is given to the expression of that level of consciousness and energy. So in our mystic practices, we send things through the heart center in order to create that, and in order to place meaning to it, and give it such as to give it really to animate it. All right, because also the heart center does what? What type of energy does the heart center express? The most important energy. We talk about it a lot. Huh? Love energy. Because what does love energy do? It preserves, and what else it does? It sustains. Not only multiply, but it sustains. In other words, in order for me to project a beam of energy from me to Ivan, I have to put the exact amount of love energy within that in order for that energy to travel. It's a grounding type of energy because when you ground something, energy can flow from one point. If you don't use a ground wire, energy will just do this. But once you ground that energy, the energy travels. It moves from one point to the next.
We know that acts as a grounding force too?
It's a grounding force, yes. That's the only way it's traveled, because it moves energy from point A to point B. Okay, so that's an advanced, that's one of the advanced states of mind, which is the heart chakra. So the Adamic man was an adept to us. They lived on a different realm of existence than what we did.
Marta asks, if thou shalt not kill is a karmic law, why does nature contradict it?
What you mean? What she mean by? Ask her, what does she mean by that? She mean the animals?
Animals kill other animals to survive.
Well, because animals kill other animals to survive because animals lack self-consciousness, and at the state they are in, they're not really going against their nature. They're going against the environment that mankind on this level created for them. In other words, their conscious level is below the Muladhara chakras. So if you study the Muladhara chakras, you will see that it is the seed. It's the seeds of hatred, of lust, of malice, all these different dark states of mind, right? Now, if mankind move up to the heart chakra, they will allow the lower. They'll give a better environment for the lower animals on this earth to move up as well. So I mean, if we had lived on our heart chakra or throat chakra millions of years ago, the animals we see today would be totally different. Or they would have moved to self states of consciousness where where they'll be able to govern themselves better. So it's not, thou shalt not kill for us on the self level of consciousness,
So that's a lot that applies once you have the ability to
Yes.
recognize yourself to begin with.
Yes, and for them, it's really when you look at it, they're not really going against the law per se, in the sense of the level of consciousness they are, because they are driven by what are we taught in the devas, right? It's an ecological. When you look at it, it's an ecological thing that the animals do. It's a balance. They just don't kill another animal and then just walk away from the carcass. They kill that animal and sustain themselves, right? In other words, they do a chemical bonding. They move atoms and molecules from one place to the next within themselves. And then they allow other species below them who couldn't kill that to come, like the vultures, and eat. And so there's a balance there. Huh? When humans don't interject, when we don't come and mess it up. And even at the state of humans, although I'm a vegetarian and I believe in vegetarianism, but some people, for health reasons, have to eat meat. And I'm not blind. I'm not some fanatic to say that everybody needs to be a vegetarian. I've moved past that. Some people, they haven't came to that physical and mental level to be able to sustain themselves on vegetables. So if they just go and eat the amount of meat needed for themselves to sustain themselves, they may not be, it may not be an ultra positive thing, but it might be karmically right for them to sustain themselves. So you have to be practical in these things because you need to sustain yourself. So those people who can't have vegetables, they need to eat some meat or fish or something, in order to gain experience, and move on.
Remembering the visitor from Gotham,
Mm-hmm.
when Dr. King was showing him the fish tank, and he was explaining that we need to keep some of these fish isolated, otherwise they'll be eaten by
Mm-hmm.
other fish.
Mm-hmm.
And the being was surprised. He's like, what do you mean? Animals eat other animals? Like, it's not like that on our planet.
Yes, because of the level of consciousness. See, and when we move to a level of consciousness where even the lower life forms can live in a more peaceful instead of hostile, you'll notice that the earth will give everyone the exact amount of nourishment needed for to sustain themselves, the way it was when we first came here to this planet some 18,600,000 years ago. The earth gave human enough energy and source to sustain themselves to live in one body for hundreds of years, thousands of years. See, but because we have contaminated the earth and did the things we did, the earth withdrew those minerals and substance that sustain our bodies for long periods of time, limiting the number of time that we can come here on this physical plane, that we spend most of our time on the astral planes where we can't do as much damage. Although we do damage, we can't do as much.
I wanted to ask, are there any 60 Tantric rays when you show us how it's divided amongst the 7 major chakras?
Is there what?
The 360 Tantric rays that come from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
On all the charts you've shown us, you divide them across the 7 major chakras. How do they get divided into the other 108? Like, how do the other 108 chakras play into the Tantric ray?
Because what happens with the Nadis?
They connect to all of them.
Hmm?
They connect to all, and
Yeah, and it
Percentage.
it's transferred from there to, because remember, the branches, when you go into, I really haven't went into the Nadis with you all to teach you, but the Nadis have branches, right? And the bark, if you can imagine, the bark is the six or seven major, really is the six major chakras, right? And from there, from each major chakra, it's branched off. Yeah, it's branched off. It really is really, they really look at it as three levels of branches, really. But when you study it, it's really six, but it's two that combine. And then the two that combine, you have the branching knots. But that's how it's branched off.
So like I said, the nerves branch off from the spinal.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so that's how you have, in fact, when you look at all the branches and look at all the pathways, some ancient texts have said that there's 720, I think, 720 Nadi pathways instead of 242. And then some of them even they reduce it and they say, oh, I'm just going to count 72,000 Nadi pathways. They don't even go up to 200 and 30, because I tell you the numbers, it's 72, 236, 242 thousands I'm talking about, and then up to 720 some thousand. But different versions of the Upanishads give different pathways. I live with the 242 Upanishads. But this gives you the different levels of consciousness. The higher realms. I go from the heart to the throat to the Christ to the crown, or the Buddhic level, and then the other rims, the astral rims, the solar plexus, the sex, and the base. And then you have the higher and lower hells, which is below the base of the spine.
How then can a humanoid consciousness exist in the hell realms if it's below the base? Yeah. But how can it, like, after the death of the physical body and they go to the respective realm, how can they go below the base of the spine and exist there? No, it's after talking about after death.
Because those realms exist. How does the realms come about? What helped those realms of existence? Huh? This is, it's Tantric rays. This is science.
Right.
So if you have light, sound, air, and all those things, then what? They exist, right? So what's stopping someone from living there?
Well, I thought the base of the spine was the limit in which human consciousness is.
Yeah, but we still communicate with animals. Animals right now today are living in the lower, in the lower realms of the lower realms of consciousness. But yet,
They stand right next to
you go home every day and you communicate to your cat or dog, right?
Right.
But yet, where's their level of consciousness?
Below the base.
So what's stopping you? And and those realms are a direct result of our wrong thought and actions. What feeds the lower realms of existence? Our continued wrong thought and actions. So if we begin to, if the whole world began to do everything right, the lower hells will cease to exist over a period of time. It will slowly deteriorate because there'll be no transference of tavic matter and manas to those realms, and they will cease to exist, and they will become, a level that cannot be sustained by the residents of this earth, because all life will vibrate to a different level.
So it could be said that those realms are sustained by love as well. 'Cause love is what sustains things.
Yes. By the love of hate,
More love.
lust,
Greed, lust.
yeah. It's just perpetuated. And you can see that with the internet, right? They, especially social media, right? Social media is full of what? Hatred, lower mental things.
It's like saying if you create an environment and a bacteria finds that environment favorable, they're going to live there.
They're gonna, yeah. And even scientists today said they could take a certain bacteria to certain planets because of the conditions of those planets, and it will germinate within hours or days across the whole planet because the conditions are right for it. So that's what we did. And that's why when you look at the higher planets within the solar system, there's they don't exist there because on our physical level we look at them, they don't exist on our physical level. They exist on the etheric level because they vibrated from that level many thousands of years ago. They vibrated from those levels. They don't live there anymore. So
So to say of being humans that exist on the lower realms, you're saying that this is of being operating at an animal conscious level within a humanoid body?
yeah,
And did you say some of them are even mutated?
yeah, some of them are, yeah,
It's kind of sad.
yeah.
There are too many people that are more than you.
Yeah, but there's
I mean, look at the population. Look at the population of the earth. That shouldn't be any surprise to you. Most of the people on earth came directly from hell.
And they go back there because they're living in that,
Yeah,
that type of.
and that level of mentality. So I mean, it's a horrible thing to think about, but some of your best friends and family members.
Just look at that.
They came directly from hell and probably will go back. Or they came from one of the lower heavens, if you want to give it names, and they'll probably go right back because of their mentality. Because they don't want to give up certain acts and certain belief systems. Like, give me mine first.
I've met people that get so frustrated just when they have to think. Like, anything that makes them have to think too much, they get so frustrated and angry and
The marijuana effect, huh?
just think of it.
So this is, when you look at this, we live in visible light. So look at all the other lights that's invisible to us. All those are other realms of existence. And there's creatures, there's people that live there that we have no knowledge of. So yes, they can live there.
Why is it that like scientists shoot a picture of a planet, with, like an X-ray telescope or something like that, but they won't pick up, they never pick up life on these planets? It's like, is there tools that they're using? They say they're shooting the X-rays, but it's really not that high on the scale.
And they won't pick up what?
Like life forms on other planets when they take a picture of it.
Because they don't recognize those life forms. They pick them up, they just don't recognize them. Once they see one being in their body, if they can, if that being protect them from their from their auric radiations, so that they can see them, then they'll know that when they project there again, they'll know that that's a life form. You mean like what they just did on the sun, right? Yeah, it was right there. The life forms was right there. The solar lords. The solar lords is the only reason why we exist here today. They manipulate the necessary karma to radiate the light from the sun to this level of existence so that you, I, and everything on this planet can exist. It's the solar lords. So the solar lords was in, they were right there, really in rare form, so that we can see them projecting this tremendous energy out from itself. So that allow us to exist. But now, are the solar lords going to have a head, arms and legs? No. What they need with yeah, I mean.
Don't they teach us that like the Martians and Venusians have that? Or no, they don't.
They only create those only when they need it. So I mean, so they looking over there for beings like themselves. They're not going to find that, which is ridiculous to even to look over there to see, to look at any planet. So I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like it's like us going to the bottom of the sea looking for someone with legs. It's just it don't make sense. I mean, what's the logic?
Yeah.
What's the logic? We mold our bodies according to the environment we live in. So they to go to the bottom of the ocean and look for someone with extremities like ours, or even a mentality like ours, it would kill them. They wouldn't exist. Or even the same system of organs like ours, they wouldn't be able to exist in that environment. Especially with the pressure of the ocean, the lack of oxygen that's there. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Okay, so they haven't been, because of their ignorance, they haven't been able to identify life. But this technology does allow them basically to look into that realm.
Well, I wouldn't. It's not subtle enough. Because on the right conditions of the sunlight, we can see invisible light. So, but it's not. It has to be subtle, and then if we going into a whole another thing, I could do a real class on it if you all want me to do that on it. But it's not subtle enough, in other words. Yes, like Chang Fu's brown box, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm asking, because, scientists could take an X-ray image of another galaxy, for example.
Yeah, and remember, the scientists been doing, when I was in college, some 25, 30 years ago, they had infrared blue type devices that do X-ray. So this is nothing new. I mean, they've been able to do that for a long time, and they still haven't figured it out.
Because like you said, it's only picking up that invisible light. It's not
Yeah.
picking up everything that's in that room.
It's not picking up everything.
They probably have figured it out, they're just not telling us.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think most of them haven't figured it out, I think, by my opinion.
So yeah, we would like that class.
Okay, any other questions?
So that thing that was on the sun, was that a solar lord, or was, it looked like it was kind of feeding off of the sun?
Are you talking about the big sphere?
There was multiple, if you looked at it, there was multiple activities like that. That when they scanned out, there was multiples all the way around. In fact, it appeared to have a ring. It was like a ring. It's like they was lined up. I don't know if you've seen the one I seen, with the same type of spiral and projection. You know.
I saw it was like a dark sphere, and it kind of looked like it was siphoning energy off of the sun or something. And then
Well, that was one image, but when they did the screen, the one I seen, it looked like a ring around the sun, and in that ring, it was images coming off. But I mean, they wouldn't understand what they're looking at because they dismiss these type of teachings.
you think that was a solar lord?
Yes, of course. All light, all energy being projected to the sun is being projected karmically by the solar lords. It's not just one, it's several different solar lords that project energy that manipulate the energy from the sun and project it to this realm of existence in order to sustain our lives. And then scientists even know that everything here on Earth is nothing but solidified what? Light. That's from science. You know, everything is solidified light. You have all this energy that comes in, and along with the atmosphere and chemicals and all that's a whole periodical tables about. You know, everything has a certain amount of water, gas, and metal, you know, and earth in it. Even our bodies. In our bodies, whatever you find in the earth, most likely we got it in our bodies to some degree. Copper, silver, gold, dirt, it's all in our body. Gas, water, it's all in our bodies, you know. So, and it's a combination of the light from the sun that helps radiate this earth, and then the combination of the earth. What scientists haven't been able to find is the subtle energies. They haven't been able to map that, although the Hindus and the Buddhists and and all the other great ancient teachings, they mapped that out a long time ago. They mapped it out a long time ago. And it's just a matter of us to connect the dots and see it. So in this here, this is a simple diagram so you could see. The Muladhara, the base of the spine, is the start of consciousness. The sex center is the seat of consciousness. The solar plexus center is the first movement of consciousness. And the heart center builds meaning to the movement of consciousness through the formation of the subtle bodies. And the throat center, at this level, the consciousness manifests itself as basic thought, physical body, and gross speech. And that's the form. By that point, you have the formation of the Nadis. In its formation of 242,000 pathways connecting with all the 6 major chakras, and you have all those 108 chakras locked in, and you have the mental bodies locked in, and you have the energy bodies in formation, and you have the etheric and astral bodies in formation along with the physical body. That's all that happened between that base of the spine and the throat center. And the soul was operating all of this from that command center of the third eye or the Christ center. Okay? It's just the mechanics of all of this. Okay, anyone understand? And I mean, everybody understand? And anyone have any questions?
So we said the first movement of consciousness, the solar plexus. So the first movement of consciousness. So Kundalini releases the sound at the base,
Mm-hmm.
and releases the conscious, and then you can say that for us, the bulk of that conscious is housed at the sex center,
Mm-hmm.
but then it becomes active. The first activation of it is at the solar plexus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So is conscious then in a kind of static state at the base and sex?
Remember, yeah, but remember the base of the spine and the solar plex, the base of the spine and the sex center is almost one psychic center to a certain degree. It's so close to each other. And in fact, it makes up as what we know as the subconscious mind. The base of the spine and the solar and the sex center houses the subconscious mind, right? And it is there that it pervades the whole body. Remember the energy that uses there, it pervades the whole body. Why? In order to spread consciousness. You see? So that's where the limitation of our consciousness come from. And then all energy flows downwards. And then back up to its original space in order to feed that level of consciousness.
So then what's that part of that pervades the whole body?
It's Vienna.
Vienna.
Yeah. That's the sex, that's a prana at the sex center.
So that it's working through
Is
the subconscious.
is working
The subconscious
through,
working through the Vienna prana to pervade the whole body.
yeah, the subconscious is directing the Vienna prana to go throughout the whole body. Remember the prana, it gets its direction from consciousness. So when the prana enters from that level, it directs it to pervade the whole body.
And that's why the subconscious operates from there.
That's the subconscious and the conscious mind.
Because, it has control over the entire body.
It has control over the entire body. And that's why they say that the Christ center is connected to what?
The base.
Huh?
The base.
No, the sex
Oh,
center.
the sex.
You see? See, when you begin when you begin to look through, when you begin to see things psychically, you almost think that you're looking through the Christ, through Arjuna, and you're not. Because why? The command center used that sex center as a launching platform. Because why? The seat of our consciousness is where? At the sex center. Okay. And then when you look around, the way we invent things and the way we develop things, we see it through a purely physical, conscious, gross state. Don't you notice that?
Duality.
Yes. You know, we can't think of anything without gross and liquid, without being a gross and liquid state. It's hard for us to see things that way. You know, it's hard for us to see things that way. So everything we invent, we have to put liquid and gross things and gross matter in it. You know, it's hard for us to understand things that work on a magnetic level. You know, it's hard for us to understand things that work on the level of electricity. Although you had somebody like Tesla come and show it to you. And I mean, before thousands of people showed them, oh yeah, you can use this magnetic type electricity and it can be wireless and all, you know, and you can push it around the world and this and that. And you must be out of your mind. Where's the conduit? You know, we need a conduit. You know, you'll kill everybody doing it that way. You know, I mean, it's almost stupidity now. You know, when we look back, why didn't these people understand this? Because their conscious level was where? Their conscious level was here at the base center. And even today, I mean, today we like push it in the back of our mind of the tremendous technology that's been given to us. You know, that's just the norm. But you don't look at the mechanics of it. If this exists, then a lot of our theories of our faith and religion cannot exist. Or maybe it does exist. You understand what I'm saying? You know, because things follow law. You know, and that with law you can enter and pervade anything. Once you put the law in action. So at one time they was thinking they need a conduit, a wire, a copper wire to push electricity. Now they realizing that they don't necessarily need that. And then it's kind of crazy too, because even back then, you know, a windmill can create electricity, right? And they was using the windmill to create this, you know, this basic electricity, but yet they couldn't move to the next step and see what Tesla was talking about. And he demonstrated it over and over and over again, and they still didn't understand it because of our level of consciousness. So any other questions?
I had a question for the Wesley.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a long time ago, you said the burning bush was the word, this is going to creation.
It was a, I think it was a lesser lord of it was a lesser lord of Kama, I think, yeah. Why?
I was listening to, in the 11th chapter, creation, and that's just defined, but described to one, tries to describe one as they are the shining ones, they are the givers of life, they are is, so what exactly is, I know fire is, I forgot which prana it is.
Tijas,
T-jazz, yeah.
or Agni, or Samana.
But it is the insensitive, aside from ether, it is one of the forms of matter that we know that doesn't necessarily have a state. It's kind of like a translucent type of state.
What?
Fire. We don't really define fire as a state of matter.
Mm-hmm.
So wondering, is that a representation of the Lord of creation or light itself?
Yeah, because most of them was described like that in the past. Most of those lords, of lesser lords of God, or I mean lesser lords of karma, or lesser lords of creation, or they were, they were actually described as these light type beings, because I believe the closest they can get and retain, and this is just my opinion, and retain the level of power and intelligence. That's the lowest state of manifestation they can come into this type of environment, and still do the job they needed to do. That's my belief, just from studying the teachings. Because the lower they come to, the greater limitation is on them. So they were all, and you go through all the Bibles, whether it's the Holy Bible or the Torah or the Vedas or the Bhagavad Gitas, and even some of the Upanishads, they describe them as that. Either the armor of heaven, the great celestial wheels, they describe them in all types, the shining ones. That's how they describe them. And they don't necessarily describe them with head, feet, legs, and all that either. So, but they describe them as that. In order to do their job, I don't think they, they didn't come with that.
About air.
Hmm?
About air.
Yeah, I mean, air, air is an aspect of prana, which is still subtle energy. It's the main, it's called vayu in Sanskrit. It's the same thing. It's manipulated by the lords of karma.
So it's more subtle than what's
It's a subtle energy. It's a subtle energy. In fact, I think it's the second subtlest energy. The first subtle energy or element within which they call the Mahabhutas, within the cosmic scheme, is akasa. And akasa is like etheric sound. That's how they describe it. And because it carries a signature with it, it carries an intelligence signature that encases all the other elements and give direction to it. You cannot have one without the other. And then right up under that is prana, or vayu, what a lot of people call air, cosmic or etheric air. So you do have divas that have a body of air. When you look at them, You'll see a body. Sometimes they'll form the body as a body. Sometimes they'll give that body of air, head, legs, arms, just to communicate with you. Or sometimes it just might be a whirlwind of air. It's the same thing. I seen a devic body of that manifest themselves before me one time before, and it was in water. But it moved from just a swirl of water to having a face, legs, and hands. So, they could do whatever they want to with that. And the water was not the way you see water like vaporize or spurt off. All the water was contained within that mind field. So, they are the manipulators of those type of elements. That's it. We can close out with a prayer.